Good morning, everyone. My pleasure to say welcome again to you in another edition of Ars Boni. I'm very proud and happy to introduce Professor Dr. Solvita Olsena for the second time to you. Solvita is Professor in Public Health and Law at the Medical Faculty of the University of Latvia. She holds both a medical doctor degree and a doctor in law degree, in addition, a professional lawyer degree. And she is, on the one hand, practicing as an attorney at the Latvian Council of Sworn Advocates. And on the other hand, she is also one of the leading academic when it comes to health law in Latvia, with a long experience in both areas, both in academia as well as in academic practice. Her academic interests and research topics include the right to health and health inequalities, patients' rights, patient safety, medical data protection, and e-health. And I had already the privilege to welcome Solvita, whom I know for many years now because of her expertise in health law and digitalization, in Ars Boni edition 53, which was streamed on the 12th of August 2020. So this is an update and also an extension of our first edition. Solvita, so good to have you here again. Perhaps kindly give us a first overview about how the situation in Latvia when it comes to COVID-related rules at the moment looks like, and perhaps you could also extend the perspective to all the Balkan states, if you agree.
Yeah, thank you, Nicholas. Nicholas, for inviting me, and I'm really happy to be back in Ars Boni. And I really followed Ars Boni in its lifetime, and it is very. I'm so thankful for you and all participants who are taking initiative and informing people about this very, very crucial issue, actually, how virus shaped our world and how law is dealing with virus. And this is what is most fascinating from my perspective, to see how law deals with the virus. Mm-hmm. So in respect to updates since August last year, I would say there are two updates. I'm really sad to report that Baltic states and Latvia in particular suffered so much from this virus. We lost really a big number of people, and people who suffered from COVID in Latvia. In the moment, we have 134,000 already cases, and this is huge. And same really sad story relates to other Baltic countries, Estonia and Lithuania. When we look at European perspective, our countries are suffering a lot and had a really high number of casualties because of virus. And this is sad. But I would also go to positive side. If you look at, for me as academic and also from practical point of view, it's a fascinating time. I've never ever experienced so big dynamic in society, in science, in our abilities and disabilities, and how what we can do and what we can't, and so and this is really, like, I would say academically, it's really interesting to live in this time and to be involved in discussion. And since we met last time, I already then introduced that I'm doing COVID-related law research, and we completed that project on COVID-19 law in Latvia, and we now submitted all our reports and some publications. And so, but of course, this project is over, but I'm still doing the same. I'm doing COVID-19 related law research, both academically and of course sometimes in from practical sense as well. So that's one issue. When we look at the general overview of lockdown rules in Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, at this moment we have a crucial change in that. Because at this moment, all three countries are very much easing restrictions and letting people back in so-called, I would not say normal, but it's new life, but really trying to facilitate more public living as we did now 1.5 years ago. So, and Latvia is very much easing restrictions, the same it is with Estonia and with Lithuania. However, the ways chosen by three governments, they are quite different. Latvia and Lithuania, they choose the law easing restrictions related to more, I would say, safety approach, very much looking at who is safe in respect to COVID transmissions and in public engagement, and offering people to take vaccination and to take related digital certificates in respect to vaccination. And Estonia is very much different in this sense. Estonia just eased restrictions in general, and vaccination certificates are only related to people who are traveling from high-risk countries. So this is a big difference between Latvia and Lithuania compared to Estonia. Estonia at this moment even lifted a mask requirement since the 2nd of June, and they don't ask it anymore compulsory, and so on. And that is the present actuality in all our all three states. And what else I would say, and particularly what to say, worrying me, and what it explains also our big number of casualties. We still, in all three Baltic countries, we still are mixing up knowledge in respect how virus transmits. It was a huge effort from my side, and I really tried to introduce Latvian government, Latvian officials, and Latvian public with very well presented research data stating that COVID is airborne virus. And it is still not accepted in Latvia. Unfortunately, it is not accepted in Lithuania and Estonia as well. There is still misunderstanding that 2 meters are really helpful, misunderstanding about the value of hand washing and so on. And when I look at from this perspective, then it is obvious that these very high numbers of casualties are very much related to that. Because if you don't stop virus by appropriate approach, if you let virus spread, this is what is nature of virus. It does it, and it infects people and it kills people. So in this respect, we have real similarities, and this is a sad side of the story, because if we will not take right weapons to stop the virus, we will not succeed. There is no way we can do it.
Mm-hmm. And with the right weapons, you mean probably vaccination, and you mean evade staying inside with many people and wear masks, right? That would be the policy that you would recommend?
I would say vaccination is one part, but the main part, what we have to do, we have to very much breach transmission routes. Mm-hmm. And it is clear that, and I follow medical science, science of virus transmission in Lancet, in Nature, in British Medical Journal, and so. And it is so well established today that virus transmits via air, it's airborne, meaning what weapons we need. We need clean air. We need extremely good ventilation. We have to, and what is weapon in all health-related issues? We need health knowledge. We need health literacy in this respect, because it's very important to inform people how this virus spreads and what are reasonable actions to stop it spreading. And this is, yes, first of all, what is very much lacking in all Baltic states, information that the virus spreads mainly indoors, that the virus is spread by the person, because in Latvia and Lithuania, it is just mentioned by coughing and shouting, and so it spreads by breathing, and it stays in air for a very long time, and it can accumulate in the air if it is not well ventilated. And therefore, and of course, it is this virus is in bigger concentration closer to person who exhales it. but if there is some flaws, it goes very far away, and 2 meters are not safe solution in many cases. And we have so good medical knowledge in this respect, and we are so blind to that medical knowledge. But I mean, there are 2 ways. One is weapons against transmission, and this is number one, what I would say. And this is what we are missing at this moment, and we have been missing that for a year. And of course, second is vaccination. But what we see now with just recent data from UK, India, and so and particularly from UK and actually US as well, vaccination is not a unique tool. If we permit virus to spread uncontrollably, so we will suffer anyway. So that's why I'm so much trying to push also Latvian government, and but I'm not consulting Latvian government, saying yes, vaccination is very nice strategy, but ceasing of virus transmission is strategy number one. We have to do it every day.
So why then are all those restrictions relieved at the moment? Is it because the third wave disappeared and the incidence rates are decreasing like in most other European countries? Is that simply the answer?
Or I would not say that this is simply the answer, because incidence rates yesterday, they are, I would say, Latvia is 230 per 100,000, and Lithuania 244. And in Estonia is 137. They are high, and the Estonian government said that they believe that they are now controlling virus and rates are falling. Yes, thanks God they are falling, because the highest what we had, it was in Estonia and Lithuania. In Lithuania, it was around New Year, it was 1,500. In Estonia, in the middle of March, it was also 1,500. This is extremely high rates. If you look at the graphs compared to other European countries, unfortunately, in a very bad sense, we were top runners. In Latvia, the highest rate was around about 700 per 100,000 people in middle of January. And we really suffered a lot. And therefore, I would say we are doing better. And of course, our nature, particularly summer, is coming, and this is helping us to stay outdoors and to have more ventilation, to have windows open, and this will help us, I believe so. But honestly, and knowing recent epidemiological data about new variants, and particularly Delta, I'm actually quite much suspicious if that way to open very much, and like Estonia does, opening very much indoor activities, that without proper protection, I would say this is a very risky approach. Because what, legally speaking, and also epidemiologically speaking, and even as approved by Latvian Constitutional Court and also by scientific knowledge, when we have such situation, like when virus spreads, precautionary principle is leading principle what we should follow. We should be very much looking ahead and seeing whether we see and what kind of risks do we see and how do we control them. And therefore, I would say that the Estonian approach is, I don't think so, it's very much related with precautions. They are going in with a high risk approach. Latvian and Lithuanian approach, I would say, is less risky.
And when it comes to the vaccination campaign, Solvita, are there also differences between the different Baltic states, and how do you perform overall in this area?
So at this moment, Lithuania and Estonia, they are doing better. So yesterday data, 36% vaccinated at least with one vaccine in Estonia, 37% in Lithuania, and 25% in Latvia. So Latvia was very did quite much discussed mistakes in purchasing at the start.
Mm-hmm.
We had very very low numbers of vaccines available at during January due to mistakes in purchasing. But now we are catching up our neighbors, and now our vaccination speed is quite similar. However, we are still far away, all three of us, from estimated need of reasonable protection, which is said to be 50-70% of population.
Mm-hmm.
And what we see in Latvia particularly, and why we have actually quite big numbers of deaths at this moment, and particularly among groups of people who had availability and of vaccines for a long time, meaning people or elderly people and people working in high-risk professions.
Mm-hmm.
So vaccine uptake is not as good as we would need in order to save people.
Mm-hmm. And vaccinations are voluntary, there is no legal obligation, question mark?
Yes, at this moment, all three Baltic countries are following voluntary approach. However, there was discussion in Estonia that medical workers should be mandatory vaccination should be applied for medical workers, and that same discussion we had in Latvia as well. But no legislation is in place yet.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, if there will be need, and if we can't, what to say, it is not reasonable to risk with so many more health or lives of people. We should take available options to minimize risk for others, and of course, medical data in respect to vaccine efficiency and efficacy they are extremely good compared to other medical data we had in respect to other medical interventions. And what I believe, but of course, whether mandatory or not, we should really evaluate risks, and we should really see whether such approach will bring us more benefits than harms.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to testing strategies, could you go a little bit more into detail whether tests are freely available for the population and whether the population uses them?
In respect to testing in Latvia, I can't comment exactly. I didn't look up exactly what is present situation in Lithuania, but in Latvia is still testing free of charge is for particular groups or with symptoms. But in Lithuania, they are more open. They are also providing free of charge testing in order to obtain their national certificate.
Mm-hmm.
So, and therefore, it is there is better accessibility in Lithuania compared to Latvia.
I see. Okay. And now, when it comes to the digital part of the debate, in particular the so-called digital green certificate or the digital passport or any other kind of digital support to fight the pandemic, I mean, Estonia, as you certainly know, has a very, very high reputation in all these debates in Europe for many years now, being the European leader in all this digital and e-government issues. Do you see this also when it comes to the fight against the pandemic? So is Estonia leading there when it comes to digital tools, or would you see all three countries on more or less the same level?
Yeah, look, now we have Estonia, they had their digital health for a long time, and they integrated like COVID vaccination in their existing digital tool. And now they are also advising to people, go to your e-health solution, and there you will find your data in respect to vaccination, and you can download and so and so. So Latvia was very poor with e-health, and our governmental system is, in principle, it was declared already non-functional some last year, and we have in principle, we still have a question whether we will build a new one or we will try to kind of update this fully functioning system. And for vaccination, we had to build a new system in order to really to manage data in respect to vaccination, and that is done. And vaccination certificate is as well another system which is built up now, and it was launched last week, but it works well. I yesterday I looked up whether I have my certificate, and I could download it and I could use. Lithuania, they were really like forerunners in this case. They already in April announced that they will develop their national digital certificate. They did it. They launched it on, if I'm not mistaken, for wide use on 24th of May. And now they are organizing all their as well public activities based on digital certificate and digital, they call national certificate. In Latvia, we call it digital certificate. In Estonia, they call national certificate. And it is based on, on their digital solution that everyone, there are, of course, 3 ways you can obtain it. By being vaccinated, by being by testing, and by after you were COVID, you
recovery,
recovered from COVID. So, and then there is and like Latvian system is, in my view, as if you use digital tools, of course. And as you use digital tools, it is easily accessible digitally. And of course, it is not so easily accessible for people who are not well with digital tools. But however, we have also medical institutions, they are issuing paper certificates as well.
Which can be used as an alternative. So
which can be used as an alternative. And of course, you see, we are in a very dynamic situation. We really need solutions tomorrow. We can't have a lot of discussion and a lot of trial periods and a lot of adjustments and so. And considering this urgency and reality of this our need, and this is our need, I really see that we are doing very well. We are going ahead. We are trying. We are repairing something. We are looking for another solutions, and when 3 years ago it took us months, and now COVID pushed us to do it in 3 days. But of course, there are a lot of different mistakes people are complaining about and saying that doesn't work or this doesn't work and so on. And of course, it's sad that there is a very good tool which is not working in some extent, but it is so normal, so human. You can't build something extremely good with one trial. You can't bake pancakes at first time.
Yeah, but when it comes to such quick solutions, one of the downsides of this is that there are often plenty of legal problems coming with quick solutions, and also with many of the restrictions that you reported last time and also this time. I would assume that there was plenty of legal debate on the constitutional rights affected by those measures. Could you give us an update about in how far the measures were under judicial review and whether there are any cases that are worth to be known for people outside the Baltic states because of their importance?
Yeah, of course I can. What I would say, first part, somewhere, just actually I would say a year took in COVID when really more people started to debate legal issues around COVID. And one first half a year or 9 months, there were only a few doing it. I was at that time I was very much alone, or there were few people who did it. They were not somehow keen to do it now it is building up actually as well in a quite big speed. Now everyone has to say something about discrimination and fair rights and informed consent and so on. So, but what I see in respect to restrictions about and protection of rights, and what we also reported as one recommendation in our COVID research report. So what I could see that that, and it's actually as well reported now in British Medical Journal, in New England Journal of Medicine, that there was really lacking legal debate around the table where all these restrictions were developed. The problem was that lawyers and experts in law were not invited and were not part of that debate. How do we develop restrictions, and how do we ground them, and whether one legal tool is appropriate or another legal tool is appropriate. And therefore, a lot of these restrictions, they really were poor in respect to legal quality. And that was, of course, and now it is actually quite well already acknowledged and worldwide. And I'm so happy about that, saying, and it relates very much to my tasks as I was doing all my professional life. The medical law, health law, is necessary part in every medical issue we are developing. Either it is digital health, or it is public health restrictions or permissions, or it is environmental health issues, and so on. We really need this, first of all, health in general perspective, and then if we need that, we need a knowledge in health law to see how do we develop that tool and how do we legally state it. Because many mistakes I was reporting last time, and many mistakes what my colleagues, academics, are now showing out in their academic papers, they are there because simply this medical law knowledge was not incorporated. And when it comes to judicial review, I would say the first ones in Latvia who woke up and who were really considering whether they should require constitutional review by constitutional court, they were companies organizing gambling. This is our Latvian fourth constitutional court judgment in respect to COVID restrictions were related to online gambling and in-house gambling. And that was based on a presumption that there is violation of property rights. And the court acknowledged that online gambling was restricted unlawfully, contrary to Latvian constitution, but in-house gambling, there was, because of precautionary principle, because of endangerment to public health, that was a legitimate and a necessary measure to restrict in-house gambling. So that is one case. We have now final judgment, and it was from December 2020. And now we have a few cases in Constitutional Court. One is related to requirement to present a PCR test for Latvian citizens who are returning from abroad. So, and there is dispute whether this is, we have our constitutional provision stating that everyone can return to Latvia who is a citizen freely. And that is disputed in the court. And then there is some few other now applications submitted where we are still waiting whether the court will accept. And so that we have, compared to other countries, but we are a small country. Compared to Germany, we have very few cases, but one is in respect to gambling. And another case, actually, a constitutional review is now already in judgment. It was done in respect to e-parliament. Latvia was the first country introduced full e-parliament and was in May 2020. And already procedures of e-parliament, they were disputed in Constitutional Court. And the Constitutional Court said that it is not important how parliament sitting takes place. It's important whether all the procedural rights provided by Constitution and law on parliament are there. And the court clarified that there is no that all rights of MPs were granted, and therefore it can't declare that e-parliament sitting is unconstitutional. They said it was necessary and it was done properly, and it is a legitimate way to do lawmaking. So this is interesting case, even more interesting than gambling case. But I would anyway say that the gambling case is very interesting in respect the court really stated that the precautionary principle in such situations like we are is the leading one. And this other case is important, stating that yes, we can't organize legislation in mode. Yeah.
So both decisions were in a way supporting or at least not hindering the government or the parliament in adapting the legal situation to the pandemic, right?
Yes, they were supportive, but they were. They were really looking into issues in the very deeply, and argumentation in these. And these judgments are really well developed in a way that we can apply it for different other situations in respect to when we would need to have some protection for public health. And this is what is the high value of these judgments in respect. How do we protect public health? Because what was very well known before pandemic, and actually what was very much clear now during pandemic, that we do not have well developed legal tools to protect public health. And we were in a very big rush to develop them.
Yeah, I see. Solvita, if I may I open another topic, which is your situation as a university teacher. So how does the situation at the universities look like, and how will most probably autumn look like, as far as you know at the moment?
Yeah. Yes, we are still doing mainly online teaching, except like my medical school, medical students are quite in restrictive manner, but they are permitted, if they are vaccinated, to do some practicals in hospital. And there we have two medical schools in Latvia, and there are different approaches. One medical school decided to have final exams for medical school in remote mode, and our university decided to have final exams of medical school in person. And there was and in hospital required that in order to admit medical students in hospital settings, the students should be vaccinated. This is requirement not by.
Is this challenged by someone, or is everyone accepting this?
I had some questions from my students, but I didn't hear about official claims in this respect. But look, there was a situation that this was hospital's requirement, and based on patient safety issue, and therefore hospital is a partner for university, and therefore a student it doesn't have material rights to challenge the hospital decision of the hospital in a so easy way. I would of course, as a practicing lawyer, I would be able to find some ways. I see some ways it can be done, but I'm not doing it. And I already quite long time, I really believe that with such high incidence of COVID in our hospitals and in society, protection of patients in hospitals is our first priority. We had so many healthcare workers who got sick of COVID. We had some really as well. We lost some colleagues due to COVID. And therefore, I would say it is reasonable to say that medical practitioners, medical students are vaccinated, and they are not. They are minimized in bringing risks to patients. And of course, it's still within the. We can still do it within the free and voluntary consent to vaccination.
Yeah.
Because your profession is not obligation. Your profession is your choice, and also your choice to study medicine. It's still choice.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would say, what I would actually, I'm sometimes getting very surprised, because this precautionary principle and principle of patient safety is quite long standing. We had it long time before COVID, and for quite long time, we were very much looking at health issues of healthcare workers and how much they may pose risks to patients. And we had already different tools stating, like, for example, mandatory medical checks for healthcare workers. And so, with a purpose to clarify whether there are not unnecessary risks for patients related to professionals' health.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is simply another disease we have, and now we are kind of questioning. Yes, it's of course correct to question all the system, but something like vaccination of medical workers is not a very new concept, and it is very, in my opinion, quite developed the system for safety in general, public health safety, and I really believe we should go in simply in line with that.
Mm-hmm. And you would say that your view on this is the majority view of the population, or?
Latin society is very much divided in this respect, and unfortunately, and I even received some inquiries to me as a lawyer if I would take a case where some medical workers would like to dispute idea such requirement, when in the case it will be put in place, that medical workers should be vaccinated. And of course, I'm not taking these cases, but there are quite, how to say, majority is clear and well informed, and really not believes, but they really understand the reasons why it is necessary. But the group of society who really is in my opinion, I see that they don't really see the whole picture of endangerment, and therefore they really argue that their freedom is infringed, and their bodily integrity is really threatened, and their right to sit in restaurants are not provided, and so on. So we have quite big part of society who really are believing that vaccination is really endangering them rather than saving them.
Mm-hmm. And this group is mainly arguing on a political level, or are they also suing in the sense of that they are challenging the measures on a legal arena?
At this moment, I didn't see real claims. There is now, but again, what I say, I heard about now there was one application to the court, but I don't know if that is accepted, and I know that there is acceptance, but that is already some time ago. It was not about vaccination; it was about in general about permission to provide beauty services, and so. And it is not. It is that is more complicated issue. But I didn't see any news about claim regarding vaccination. But it is voluntary. It is not. And there was, of course, as well, if you compare, we look at Baltics, there was initiative as well published, at least in media, by emergency services in Tallinn, who as well announced that they will require a mandatory vaccination for their employees. And that was quite much debated. And sometime after that was said that no, they will not demand it. But when we go back to the university issues, so we are finishing this year more or less on remote teaching, exams, and so on. And we really believe that we can return back to university in person in September. We start in September. And it is already clear that Riga Stradiņš University, which is another medical university, not only medical, but university already, announced that they will accept mandatory vaccination requirement, meaning that all students should be vaccinated, and of course they provide some exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
They do provide exceptions for those who are really developed severe allergic reactions and so on. Mm-hmm. Reasonable medical grounds, they do provide this exception, and so. But they already announced openly and to everyone that this will be their rule. So I don't know what will be approached by my university, by University of Latvia. So I'm still waiting what our Senate will how they will approach this issue. But of course, it is our university is obliged to protect health of our students.
Yeah, and will it be, I mean, technically and organizationally possible for every student to get vaccinated until autumn?
I believe so. Mm-hmm. I believe so, yes. Because now in Latvia, we have open vaccination for everyone, including children from 12. Mm-hmm. And in the case we will have enough vaccine supplies, and this is a technical issue, then I believe, yes, mm-hmm. it will be possible. Because like what was done actually with medical students were put on priority list. Medical mm-hmm. students were eligible for vaccination already since last January. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And therefore, there was no technical problem with medical students who were not vaccinated in the middle of May. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because they had accessibility, but they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So of course, we can't put some mandatory requirements in order to protect others and then themselves if we don't have vaccines, if we mm-hmm. don't have availability of vaccines. Mm-hmm. But as soon as we have them, and they are really highly effective, and we have very good medical scientific data that they really work. Mm-hmm. Then I see, and this is knowledge we collected past few months. So I believe that it is reasonable to go in a way saying that you have to be responsible towards others, and that means you have to minimize the risks that you can transmit virus to someone else as much as you are able to. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we are giving you opportunity to do it. Mm-hmm. And of course, and if we are seeing that you may pose high risk to others in a situation when virus spread is huge in Latvia, we are obliged to go with some restrictions.
Mm-hmm. Good, thank you, Solvita. Last question, actually two last questions. The first one is there anything that you would recommend people who don't speak any of the Baltic languages to read or to watch? So are there additional sources available, in particular in English? And second, is there any topic that you want to stress explicitly that I did not cover yet?
Yes, there is one topic I would like to stress, and there is, and I can recommend. Baltic countries, we are very small, all three of us, but we are very good at communicating to others, and therefore there are, in my opinion, very good governmental resources developed where all three governments really provide quite good information in English. Mm-hmm. So if you, and I did it myself, because Baltic countries, we do not read other languages. I'm not able to read Estonian or Lithuanian, and I prefer English. So, but yet there is a very good governmental information provided by Lithuanian government, and the same by Estonian government, and the same by Latvian government, and you can find them easily. Just do search engine COVID-19 Latvia or Lithuania or Estonia, and you will find this governmental page in English. And additionally, we have so good artificial intelligence tools, meaning automatic translators today, that even if you go into, for example, Lithuanian page, which is in Lithuanian, as soon as you press translate to English, information is quite good one. So And therefore, it's not a big issue how you can gather information. And as well, all three countries, they do provide telephone services for additional questions. Mm-hmm. If you would like to know something, you can easily phone to authorities, and they promise to provide information. So this is really helpful and informative. Mm-hmm. And I really I did use that for today, and I'm going to use it more because I really wish I could travel to Estonia during summer to really explore the beautiful nature of Lithuania. Mm-hmm. That is one thing. Another thing that I would really stress, and I would really stress again, like I did during our last conversation, that I really wish that we are following medical science and that we are building our way based on knowledge we have. Mm-hmm. We have so good medical science. We have so good knowledge in respect, and now in respect to COVID as well. And if we will not do it, we really miss our chance. Mm-hmm. So therefore, and as well, I would really, and that I would even require, when we build up our legal regulations, we should follow medical science as well. Mm-hmm. Legal regulations which are contrary to medical science will most likely harm us, and in some cases it may kill us. And I really believe that it's not something we would wish to happen. Mm-hmm. So therefore, all health-related matters should be built on medical knowledge.
Okay. So Rita, thank you so much. Thank you for another really interesting insight to the Baltic states. Thank you to our listeners. I hope that you stay connected with us, that you stay interested, in particular, that you stay as healthy as possible or become as healthy as possible, as quickly as possible. Have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful weekend. All the best to all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.